Welcome to Gaia Dairy Farming Insights, the infotainment podcast for the Dairy Farming Network. Join our community that takes you on a journey through the vastness of milk production, your source of knowledge and inspiration in every episode.
Hello and welcome to our Dairy Farming Insights podcast. I'm Marcus, the host of today's episode, and I'm happy to welcome my colleague Marcus Holtkötter. Today we will be dealing with the third part of our Manure series, and we will talk about sustainable field application of manure. So hello Marcus, please introduce yourself.
Hi Martin. So great to be here. My name is Marcus Holtkötter. So I'm working for GEA for market support for the manure equipment. This is my background with farming. So I deal with manure for many years.
So you are our perfect partner here for this talk. After we've already taken a deep look into the topics of how to homogenize and pump manure, why this is important, talked about separation and transferring manure, today it's really all about bringing it out on the field and how to do this in the most sustainable way. So we will be talking about manure spreaders and how smarter spreading can really maximize crop value and on the other hand also minimize runoff and how to support really a sustainable farming system. Marcus, can you introduce us a little bit into the whole topic of the role and the importance of proper manure spreading?
Manure is, I think, the most valuable fertilizer on the farm. For the farmer, for the livestock farmer, at the first hand, it's for free. And then all the nutrients you need for your plants are in the manure. And that's why it's so important. You talk in the last episodes about homogenizing manure. It's so important that you have a very homogenized fertilizer. And then on the application side, it's very important to select the right time, right place where you applicate the manure, and also working with the right rate. Because when you're doing too much, then it could be that it comes to leaching or it comes to emissions, so that the plants cannot use it. Or in a total bad way, it could be that it's too much for the plants. It's very important that you have a spreader where it works very accurately, so that you can apply on the right rate you need.
The most important thing is really precision and figuring out and finding the right spreading method to apply it properly. Let's dig into the different kinds of spreaders which there are out in the market and how to best use them for which purpose.
At one hand, we have the spreader for solid manure. So that means maybe from beef cattle with throw and something like in. So that mostly used in front of maybe corn or something like that. But mostly we dealing about liquid manure. We're talking about liquid manure spreaders or tankers. So it depends on the area, how it would be named. That means we have to apply liquid manure. And then it comes to that we have to make the decisions which crop we will fertilize and which crop and which region we can select the right rate, the right time, and also the right equipment. So the right boom we need for that. So that it's not like you have one boom for every region in the world and for every crop. So that's especially depends on the region. It depends on the crop. What's the best for you to use? It comes like something like that we talk about, especially when we talk about the application boom, that it comes to a little bit sometimes to local players because they produce for that region a very, very special kind of boom. But with all that in front, we need a tanker. We need the tanker to bring the manure to the field. And also this tanker has to be very accurately. So that means tankers now are not only a piece of stupid steel. It got more and more digitalized. It's more and more technique in it.
So there's really additional technology that helps to apply the nutrients accurately. That's, of course, one of the most important add-ons to the classical tanker.
Yeah, so for that, it's very important. You have to know how many nutrients are in your manure. So normally you take a sample in front of that, send it to a laboratory so you know which rates are in it. So with nitrogen, with phosphor, with potash. And then you can calculate what my plants needs. how many nutritions I have to apply per hectare, per acre. And then I can go with my tanker to the field. And in front of that, there's a system. I can say, hey, you have to apply so much volume per acre, per hectare, or per hectare. And the system works by themselves. So that's adjust by themselves. And that's every time will be applied the right rate you use. That makes it for the driver a lot easier, because sometimes he has to go a little bit slower because it's go up to the hill. Sometimes a little bit wet, or the tanker is full, so the tractor has not enough power. So you go a little bit slower and then you go a little bit faster. But with this auto rate control, every time will be the same rate. And that's the same when we maybe talk about big booms like we use it in Europe. So in Europe, a lot of areas use trailing shoes and then booms like 27, 30 meters to make sure that you get no overlapping in the field. So we have for these spreaders a section control. So that means that sections are controlled by the computer, by the GPS system. And then this section will be shut off at that moment it comes to an area where Manure is applied. So that works totally automatically without the driver has doing something. And that helps to make sure that we get no overdosing in the field, so that we get at every point in the field the same accurate rate we need.
So really, really sophisticated and very precise technology to make sure everyone gets the best use or takes the best use out of the manure. The different systems you just already mentioned, which ones would be, if I wanted to start with more sophisticated manure technologies, what should I start with?
So there's nothing you can say, hey, that's the right system, you have to start, because it depends on the area. But when we talk about manure to apply on grass fields, if you are in an area where you apply and it's mostly rainy days, then you can maybe talk about broad spreading. Because when you have not a hot day and it rains a little bit, you will not have big emissions. But when you talk about areas with not so much rain, then it's important to get the manure next to the soil, so there will less emissions to bring it not to the air. And then it could be trailing shoes or something like disc systems. So that makes us open the soil and the manure get applied in the soil. So it depends really in which area you are, which crop you will fertilize. And then it comes to what technique you will use. So in our area, or the area where I'm from, everybody uses big booms. So it's normal that it will be applied with trailing shoes or a trailing horse. That's a normal system for us. And yeah, for the first step, it looks expensive. Yes. If you have to do the investment, it's expensive, but it pays for themselves, because you will have less emissions and you will be more accurately. And that in the end gets to that the system pays for themselves, because it means at the end you have to buy less chemical fertilizer, because everything you smell is gone. Mm. So now it stays there and it's available for the plants to grow.
With that, you already mentioned a very important point. So avoid emissions, try to make best use of the manure, and therefore we get into the field of sustainability and efficient usage. So it's not just about the tools, but really also how and when to use them. So what is your view on that, your recommendation when we think about most efficient use?
That also depends a little bit on the crops. When we talk about maybe winter wheat, so then it's very interesting to apply in the spring. Early spring, you apply the manure, so short before the plants will start to grow. So because then they need the nutrition. Then it's time and it gets warmer, the bacteria in the soil getting more and more active, and the nitrification starts in the soil. So that means that these nutrients in the manure getting ready for the plants. If we talk about corn, then it's short in front of corn, or maybe short in front of closing the row. But it could be also in areas where we have maybe a very, very cold winter, all the winter frozen ground, and then in the spring it gets early warm. They will directly start with seeding. So that means the soil, when we talk about a heavy clayey soil, it's too wet to go with this heavy equipment to the field, and the time is too short. But when we talk about this frozen soil all over the winter, it could be interesting to apply the manure maybe in November or end of October at the time where we can go very easy to the fields. And directly after that, we have frozen grounds. So we will not have emissions to the air. And also we will not have leaching because it's frozen. Then nothing will happen. So that means it's very important to know the area. In my region, it's not allowed to spray manure in the fall. But in totally different area of the world, it makes sense because it's different weather, it's different soil. And I think that's also very important to know that we have not only looked to it how we do that in Europe, but it's more, hey, what's the condition on this farm, especially in this area by that climate? And then you can make the decision, what is the best way to get it more sustainability using the manure in an accurate way. But every time it's important, in front of applying the manure, mix it. Get it very well homogenized. That's the biggest topic you have in front of applying manure.
Yeah, homogenization as well as you already just mentioned, really the logistics and the field management. So under which conditions and which region of the world, how to really efficiently apply and spread it on the fields. So managing logistics is also a very important point.
Yeah. Farms get bigger. That means at the end, they will be longer ways to go to the fields. And with that, it comes more and more interesting for farms to using trucks or semis on the street. That means at the end, less noise, less diesel. That's more efficient. And then using big tankers in the field that can getting a whole truckload directly into the tanker and apply. So you have these heavy, very expensive equipment all the time in the field. Use it very efficient because it's not staying on the street, and using for the transport a system what needs less diesel, is not less noisy, faster. So also more efficient and it's not so expensive. That also helps to getting more sustainable and also to use the time in the farm for the workers more in an efficient way.
So when we conclude or summarize all the benefits and the gains that we can get out of professional manure handling and spreading, what kind of economic and environmental returns would you summarize in total?
It depends extremely on the farm and the area. And I think that it could be for a farm, they use a small tanker because it's around the fields. Every field is very close to the farm. They do that by their own. And the next one maybe use a very huge one because it's long fields so that he can go one pass with this huge tanker. And for the next one, it could be interesting to using trucks because it's a very huge farm with very long ways on the street. So you use maybe a 30 cube tanker for the street and also a little bit bigger tanker on the fields so that it makes sure every time he can empty a truckload in one pass. It's very important to look into the farm first to see, hey, which crops we have, how the conditions, how looks the farm. And with that, you can make the best decision for the farm to get bigger and having the right equipment. So I think that's a mostly important stuff for starting new with liquid manure spreaders. First, look into it, what you really need. Maybe not what other farmers use. Look more, what is the right stuff for my farm, my location.
Yeah, right, Marco. So really, it's important to take a close look at your own farm, your own needs and the surrounding and conditions, which are important for your manure practices. Yeah, if you elaborate shortly a little bit on the portfolio that GEA can offer, I suppose there's a lot for different needs all around the world available.
Yeah, so we have from a small tandem axle and very easy tandem axle tanker, maybe with 16 cubes, to a very, very huge one, 4 axle, and maybe in the future a bigger one with 5 axle, 50 cubes tanker. So a very wide range, and with fitting in European streets, so a little bit smaller ones, to getting this very wide for areas like North America. So that means at the end we can deliver the right tanker for you need and what's right for your farm. Also, we can provide for North American guys semi-tankers. We can provide tankers you can mount it on a truck. So what you need, we can deliver. And it's very, very great stuff we have is our XC suspension. So we have a new suspension system where the axles will be a little bit different to normal. So with that, every time there will be the same load per axle. And that's very important when we talk about soil compaction. Then it comes also that it's very great to use air tire pressure systems so that you lower the pressure. Sustainability in farming, it's not only to bringing down the emissions, and it's also to taking care about the soil. So with less soil compaction, you're also getting better because healthy soil means at the end more healthy and healthy crops and better yield.
That's a wonderful last word, Marcus. Good summary. We come to the end of our podcast and we've talked about so many different things. So if you would like to summarize some final key takeaways, which ones would that be?
You need the spreader what fits on your farm. Use precisioning technique you can get at the moment. Make sure you select the right time and volume of manure because manure is a brown gold and you use it like gold.
Wonderful. That's a perfect last sentence and a good outlook. So I hope everybody sees the value of this raw material, and to dive deeper into this topic is really worth it. So thank you very much, Marcus. It was a pleasure talking to you. I hope everybody outside enjoyed it. Talk to you and see you next time again. Thanks a lot.
Follow us on our social media platforms to stay updated and subscribe to our podcast so you won't miss any future episodes. If you have questions, suggestions, or even ideas for future topics, feel free to reach out. Join us soon for another exciting episode as we continue to explore the world of farming and the people behind it. Until then, keep farming and growing.